Podcast. We are back for another daily edition of Photo Q&A, where we answer one of your photography questions every single day of the week, along with the help from my high school best friend, Paul, who's going to keep me on track and ask any clarifying questions if I get too technical or anything that the beginner photographer like yourself may not understand. Sometimes I just get into my head and get going pretty crazy. So if you have any questions that you want answered about photography or anything even related to photography, feel free to ask those questions. Submit your questions. You can do so on Instagram. Just comment on any of our photos. You can leave us a comment on Facebook. That's facebook.com/beginner photography podcast. Or just shoot us an email at beginnerphotographypodcast@gmail.com. And guys, if you like this episode and you get any sort of value out of it whatsoever, I would be forever grateful if you left us a review in iTunes or whatever podcast player you are listening to us on right now. That's it. Let's go ahead and get into today's question. Paul, welcome back.
Raymond, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Good.
Doing pretty good.
You know what? I would be doing better if you could answer today's photo question while I take the day off. How does that sound?
You want me to answer this one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You know what? Maybe I'll stick around. I'll let you answer it, but I'll stick around and just kind of fill in the...
Fill in the cracks?
Yeah.
All right. Kimmy wants me to answer, how does she get all of her photos in focus? Because they're always blurry.
Oh, this is going to be a train wreck.
Kimmy, go ahead and throw that bad boy in auto.
Oh, jeez.
Have a good one.
Sure enough. Yeah, that's terrible advice. Kimmy, don't listen to Paul. So there are several things that could be either wrong with your camera or I could just have really bad news, and that's just kind of the way things are. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you're in the right focus mode. So your camera has like 4 or 5 different focus modes, right? One of them is made more for sports. One of them is made where you pick like a single focus point.
One is like a flower. One is a tree.
No, you're thinking of telephoto right there.
One's a guy running.
No, those again are program modes. But like the best way to figure these out are through just reading your camera's manual. And I know that it sounds stupid, right? Like, who reads the manuals? I can just put this together. But
you do, Raymond.
No, I don't. The only manual that I read is my camera's manual because it is so good. Every camera that I've owned, I learned so many things just through the camera's manual. You got to do it. And the autofocus section is definitely one that you do not want to miss because you think that autofocus is simple, right? Just like you half press the button and it picks the shot for you. But it's so wrong. There are so many things that you can do to ensure that you get what it is that you want to be in focus. There's modes that are made for tracking. There's modes that are made for like quick panning. There's ones that just won't change unless you press a specific button on the back of the camera. So many different autofocus modes. That would be my number one tip, is to first go ahead and read your manual. And again, try to figure them out, play around with them, and see if that's going to do it for you. Next thing that I would recommend is figure out if it is your lens, right? The lens that comes with your camera it's essentially plastic. It's kind of junky. They're, mass produced. It's not the best quality. It'll get the job done, if you're just looking to go out there and take some snapshots. But it's not going to get those, tack sharp photos like the one that always comes to my mind is that iconic photo from National Geographic. I think that it's just called Afghan Woman. She has
the blue eyes?
With the blue eyes. Yeah, you know it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So tack sharp, right? You could never get something like that with just the stock lens. It's really about having a better lens that is, made out of glass. It's totally calibrated to your camera. So that would definitely be my next thing that I would recommend. Also, one thing that you want to do when you're focusing is always, if you're choosing a focus point within your camera, and you're, if you're just going out there and your camera's an auto and you're just taking the photo, you probably don't know that you can actually choose where your camera is going to focus every single time. And you can pick different focusing points. So when you do that and you're taking portraits, always make sure that that little square that will pop up in your viewfinder, and the way that you're going to find that is through your camera's manual, but always make sure that that is over your subject's eye, because people always look at eyes first. They're the most compelling thing ever. Like, it's the window to the soul, right? That is always where your eyes will go, and therefore you always want that to be in focus. You know, unless you're doing some sort of creative shot, like somebody's holding something like next to the camera like this, and you want that thing in focus, and they're out of focus in the background, that's fine. But if you're just taking a portrait of somebody, always make sure that their eyes are in focus. And that is
Learn something new.
Yeah. So check out your camera's autofocus modes and make sure that when you do that and you start practicing with the different autofocus modes, that you always put your focus point over the person's eyeballs. And that should help. And if not, make sure that, you know, your subjects aren't moving too much or anything like that. But at that point, you should be on the road to figuring things out yourself. So, you think that was a good answer?
I think that was a great answer.
Why? What made that a great answer?
Because maybe she was looking for just the easy answer of get a new lens or something like that, but it might not necessarily be broken. It just might be some weird setting that might have accidentally gotten triggered or something like that can just has to be put back in the proper setting.
Oh, yeah, good point. The other thing that I was going to say is that sometimes people think that their photos are blurry, but really it's not because of the sharpness of their lens or that it's not in focus. It's because their shutter speed is too low and everything's, you know, you get camera shake in the photo or something's moving too fast, and then, you know, and then it just looks blurry that way. So just try to eliminate that by either having a faster shutter speed or if you're using aperture priority, then you can just dial up the shutter speed that way so that it's a little quicker, just so that you can freeze your subject in the frame to ensure that them moving isn't going to be a problem. And then if they're still out of focus, that's when you're going to really need to check out your autofocus modes and the quality of your lens. All right, Paul, would you say that answered it to the best of my abilities?
Yes, I do.
Or would you say that answered it to your complete satisfaction?
Yes. I would say that was a 10 out of 10 answer.
Whoa, you have really low standards. All right, cool. Well, hopefully we can do that again tomorrow.
Yes.
Guys, I hope that you liked today's question. I hope that it brought you value and some sort of actionable tip that you're going to be able to implement and put into your photography journey to advance you to wherever you want to be, whether it's just a hobbyist or if you really want to take your photography professional and open up some sort of studio or business to do so. I hope that you got at least one piece of information out of today's episode. And again, if you did, please give us a review in iTunes. That's all that I ask for. I ask for nothing out of you, out of this podcast. These podcasts take a lot of time to create, and I'm so happy to do so if you are going to take these tips and implement them to grow yourself, to grow your photography. So the only thing that I ask of you is if you could just please leave us a rating and review in iTunes or whatever podcast player or app you are listening to us on right now. Again, guys, if you have any photography questions or about anything photography related, feel free to send us an email at beginnerphotographypodcast@gmail.com. Reach out to us on Facebook, facebook.com/beginnerphotographypodcast, or find us on Instagram, where you'll be able to keep up with us and all of our guests that we have on the podcast as well. And that is Instagram username Beginner Photo Podcast. That's all that I got for today. I hope that you guys get out there, shoot something fun, enjoy. I love you guys, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.